Welcome to my vision of World of Warcraft Classic Plus. This is a Twitch stream that is not edited, so it's going to look like a Twitch stream. Well, the design direction of my vision of Classic Plus. I need water. I have water. The design direction of my vision of Classic Plus is substantially different from that of WoW Circuit Shadowlands and the private service Vanilla Plus Eternal WoW. This is partially because this aims to fix Vanilla WoW's many problems first, flesh it out and polish it second, and add new content third. This is part of a playlist of videos. Check this video's description for a link to the playlist. This document displayed is my vision of WoW Classic Plus, and the document's version number is version 1.5.15. All versions of the document are based upon patch 1.12.2 of WoW. If you just want to know about the general design direction of my vision of Classic Plus before you otherwise look into this, then watch an introductory video in this playlist, or read the document yourself and look at the list of major features. The link to the document is in my channel's About page. That, and I do not have a team of people, however, working with me to make an actual private server out of this. This is all pure design thus far, and it ain't done yet. These display changes made to Zul'Gurub do not concern what drops in Zul'Gurub, nor things such as NPC hit points, NPC damage, or NPC pathfinding. Those are covered in different parts of this document that will be covered in different videos. However, it is still worth briefly mentioning that elite NPCs in general, and not just in raids, are going to hit a lot harder and have a lot more hit points. So your tanks that are not druids will need to actually use shields, or else they will get randomly one-shotted for full health by a crit, even if the defensive best slot forever gear, full buffs, world buffs, and consumables, and including flasks. By the way, world buffs are massively nerfed. That, and as I mentioned in the video for general dungeon and raid changes, I plan to eventually revamp all the raid boss and whichever raid boss and generally have different mechanics. As for world buffs in particular, they'll be split into two kinds: Type A world buffs, the kind that are not portable, and Type B, the kind that are portable. Type A world buffs will not stack with each other, and they're massively nerfed. And Type B world buffs will also not stack with each other. They are also massively nerfed, but you can have the Type A and B world buff at the same time. Raids are going to be tuned so that you need a Type B world buff, but not a Type A world buff. You're not expected to be able to keep the Type A world buff, but you are expected to just grab another Type B world buff if you die. Anyway, on to the actual changes made to Zul'Gurub. Zul'Gurub will be turned into a 40-man raid. All beast non-player characters in Zul'Gurub with Rizashi in their name will have the word Rizashi be replaced with Hethethian or Shadrian, while Zolian Cubs, Tigers, and Guardians will be renamed to Chevalian Cubs, Tigers, and Guardians. And Zolian Prowlers, Stalkers, and Panzers will be renamed to Bethekian Prowlers, Stalkers, and Panzers, while Zolian Crocolusks and Rizashi Raptors will be renamed to Great Crocolusks and Great Raptors. And Bloodseeker Bats and Frenzied Bloodseeker Bats will be renamed to Hyrekian Bats, and Frenzied Hyrekian Bats. This will serve as justification for being able to detain the various beasts that live in Zul'Gurub, seeing as how they are not quite supposed to have been tamed by the Zolian trolls. The Rizashi and Zolian tribes will be retconned out of existence. The associated non-player characters will simply be renamed to something else, some of which names were defined above. Shadrian Venom Brood's Intoxicating Poison, formerly Rizashi's Venom Brood, due to the alcohol revamp. See the section on alcohol way the fuck below on other. Hold on. Alcohol. 11.0.13. See section 11.0.13 alcohol changes. So yeah, Rizashi Venom Brood will be able to kill anybody in a few hits, no matter who the fuck they are, because of the alcohol revamp. As such, you'll have to kite these mobs to death, and they will be made vulnerable to roots and movement speed slows in order to make this be realistically possible to kill. In order to prevent mages from solo impacts of Great Crocolusks and Trevalian Tigers and Cubs, every pack of those mobs that are not accompanied by any trolls will be accompanied by two Gurubachi axe throwers, two of them. So, basically you're gonna need 2 mages to AoE farm him instead of 1. Oh, right, I forgot. Being 40-man raid mobs, these mobs will generally be immune to all... I already wrote that down here. I just remembered. So yeah, you're gonna need more than 2 mages to kill these guys because they're generally gonna be immune to all forms of CZ. Gurubashi Axorus will be immune to polymorph. I forgot about that one too. So yeah, mages will not be able to AoE farm Great Crocodisks or the Tigers. The Drain Life spell casted by Gurubashi Bloodstringers will be renamed to Siphon Blood. They do not have Fel Magic, they have a limited form of Voodoo from Hakar. When High Priest Thekal is engaged, his enclave will be magically walled off until he dies. Furthermore, the High Priest Thekal and Co. will evade if they leave their enclave. Evade bug. In order to increase the value of Soldierite and Bloodvine, and other products of mining herbalism to a very low extent, all herbalism and mining nodes in Zul'Gurub will be placed among hostile, non-patrolling, non-player characters that are not underwater, as opposed to merely near them or not even near them. Elite enemies in Zul'Gurub, now being 40-man raid mobs, will generally be immune to all forms of crowd control. Certain non-player characters, such as Zealot Zaf and Zealot Lorcan, will be vulnerable to interrupts, but not other forms of crowd control. In order to increase its value of Dark Moon's Special Reserve, it will no longer respawn until the raid resets. Then looting it will get you saved to the raid. All mining, herbalism, and fishing nodes in Zul'Gurub will not respawn until the entire instance undergoes a hard reset, and looting it will get you saved to the raid. The fishing nodes getting you saved are just for the sake of consistency. And so that nobody goes around selling mud skunks. As many mud skunks, excuse me. The text of the Edge of Madness for Wushu-related Stormwitch will be changed to reflect the fact that Wushu-related Stormwitch is a guy and not a girl. The game is the vanilla... Well, Vanilla Classic was kind of inconsistent about whether Wushu-related is a guy or a girl. He's a guy, according to his model. Hook 2 Frenzies, Chevalier Cubs... Oh, remember, this is the mid-2000s game, not a late 2000s. This is technically a mid-2000s game, not a 2020s game, so yeah. Anyway, Hook 2 Frenzies, Chevalier Cubs, Hirakian Bats, Chaudhry and Skidwars, Sons of the Car, Parasitic Serpents, and Sand Fury, Valbranch, and Winterbark speakers will no longer... award Sandlord tribe reputation upon death. Voodoo Slates will know how to cast Mass Shrink, Voodoo Shield, formerly Shadow Guard, Hexawegus, and Greater Stasis Trap Ward, which is a Stasis Trap Ward that goes off after 3 seconds instead of 10 seconds, instead of Rain of Fire, Inferno, and Shadow Bolt. There is no thematic justification for them having Fel Magic, but there is for them having Voodoo. With Administrators will no longer know Veil of Death, formerly Veil of Shadow, or Unholy Frenzy. They'll instead know Hex of Blood, which is renamed Curse of Blood, and Greater Ward of Life Stealing, which is a ward of 5 hit points that redirects all healing spells casted by its foe to it for 1 minute, after which it collapses. Or you can just stomp the ward. Hakari Shadowhunters will know Serpent Ward and Chain Heal instead of Multi-Shot, Volley, and Wyvern Sting. Shadowhunters are not the class that is called Hunter. They are Shadowhunters. It is completely different. Instead of being ranged attacking guys with a bit of melee that know a little bit of arcane magic and a tiny bit of fire and frost magic and a bit of life magic, they are melee attackers that know voodoo and spirit magic and void magic. Jindo the Hexer's brainwashed totem will be renamed to Ward of Control. To Ward of Control. He is not a shaman but a witch doctor. Shamans have totems. Witch doctors have wards. Totems are elemental magic. Wards are voodoo magic. Zanzo the Restless's altar will be relocated near the entrance of the raid, and his dialogue will tell you that, should you simply /say a certain phrase while in Zul'Gurub, Zanzo will grant you a great blessing. This blessing is, do know that Zanzo is supposed to be a fucking god. This blessing is very powerful, in particular Loa. This blessing is very powerful and counts as a Type A world buff, as I mentioned earlier. It lasts for 2 hours, but will wear off early if you leave Zul'Gurub. Receiving this blessing will grant you a hidden red debuff for 1 second that prevents him from blessing you again in order to prevent people from trying to crash a server. The raid will be tuned around everybody constantly having that world buff, and its world buff will grant you, in total, 200 attack power, 100 stamina, plus 125 spell damage, and plus 222 healing while active. That's all the changes they got thus far for Zul'Gurub. Thanks for watching. Where the fuck is my cursor?